Hey guys, welcome to Peripheral Vision, and today we are taking a look at the original controller for the Nintendo Entertainment System. But if you're watching a video online on a gaming channel, you probably already knew that. You see, this controller has become this iconic symbol over the years of not only gaming in general, but more specifically retro gaming. Now the big reason for that is honestly the system that it's connected to. For a lot of people, the NES was their first console, and this was their first controller, and it took them through their formative years as a gamer. Super Mario Bros., Mega Man, Rad Racer, all those classics were played on this. And that's a real testament, actually, to what is honestly a really basic design. You see only 4 buttons and a D-pad. Nowadays, controllers have like 100 buttons and 10 different directional inputs. But what's interesting is that those controllers with their menagerie of layouts are honestly just evolutions of this. You see, the NES controller was the controller that standardized this style of directional input on the left, button input on the right. Now, it wasn't the first, because there were earlier controllers that had a similar setup, but it is the one that popularized the notion. Before this, controllers were usually joysticks with a single button, which was the standard brought on by the Atari 2600. But since the NES controller, this has been the golden standard for what a controller is, regardless of how many buttons you pile on top of it. Another notable thing about this is that it is a very durable controller. Even being well over 20 years old at this point, the NES controller holds up really well. Usually, any NES controller that I get plays just fine, which is a real testament. And it does still look good. You can see up here, it has a black, gray, and red color scheme, which is similar to the NES console itself, and it's kind of a timeless look to it. And if we flip it on the back, you can see that technically the model number for this is NES-004, and of course, made in Japan. Now, while there's plenty of things to praise about this controller, both in the historical context and its general design philosophy, there was one sort of major issue. Now, for younger players with small hands, it didn't really affect their gameplay, but for adults, you can see that the rectangle has these sharp edges. Well, not really sharp, but just hard. And when you hold it for long periods of time, those edges can really dig into your hands. But considering some of the other major issues that other controllers I've reviewed have had, that's not the worst thing in the world. Overall, the NES controller is a simple, effective peripheral that is near and dear to the hearts of many gamers. If you don't have one already, I suggest you pick one up, pop in your favorite classic game, and give it a whirl. Later days.